Good morning or good evening to wherever this finds you. Welcome to the FunHawg Pod with your hosts, Matt Cook and Butch Mayhew. Let's let that fun ensue. Welcome to the FunHawg Podcast. It's good to see everybody.
Excited to be here. It's late. Patrick's got his caffeine-free beverage. I mean, it's getting rowdy.
Classic 43-year-old, setup here, so good to go.
Everyone welcome Patrick Dyle to the podcast. Woo! Clapping.
The crowd goes wild.
Patrick, approximately how many podcasts have you been on?
Let's see, if you count the one.
Just round to the nearest 100 for us.
Yeah, carry the other one. Yeah, this is the first one.
First ever? Man.
Big time.
Incredible. Welcome.
Big time. No, it's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be. Butch, your beard is looking just amazing.
I've been working on it for a little while. It's been, a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. The fact that you shaved your head, too, this looks just excellent. It's like all your hair fell through your head and just is oozing out your chin. It's kind of what it looks like.
That's exactly what it is.
That was
Actually had a guy at church came up to me and asked me if I rode motorcycles. And I was like, no, I don't. Why do you think that? He said, you got the look.
Yeah.
I said, maybe I need to ride motorcycles.
There you go.
No one ever comments on my beard.
You got a baby face, man.
I've never seen you even with the 5 o'clock shadow. I don't think.
This is 2 days unshaved here, so yeah, it's about as long as it gets.
It's so good. Well, Patrick, we are super happy you're here. For those of you that don't know, me and Matt worked with Patrick many moons ago, it feels like at this point, at Daxko, where Patrick still pretty much runs the place at this point, right?
Settle down. Not entirely. I did just celebrate my 20th anniversary, though, in March, so that was pretty wild.
You're as old as my marriage at Daxko. Let's just say that.
Nice. 20 years. Congratulations to you, too. That's, much more rewarding career marriages than what I've, gone through. But it's been pretty awesome, that's for sure. It's almost half my life, which is pretty wild to really think about. I've truly, in many ways, grown up there, so it's pretty amazing.
I'm fairly sure that's 4 times longer than I've been at any company.
Right.
Yeah, I'm almost 100% certain, actually.
Yeah. Any company that Matt works at, don't have even 1 week of a lull of energy, then Matt's out. He's already applied 7 times by Friday, end of day.
That's right. I do applaud it, though. I remember my very first place I worked, Blackbod, they had, sometime in my first month or so there, they had a big ceremony where they gave out these wristwatches to employees who had been there for 20 years. And it was in this big auditorium, and I just remember thinking, I'm not going to get a wristwatch. that's never coming my way. So, but has it changed a lot, would you say, in the last 20 years? Pretty much the same place.
Yeah, for sure. I would say the biggest changes in Daxko have been over the past 5 to 6 years, for sure. We've gone through so much growth through acquisition, and Daxko's almost been 2 or 3 different companies in the past, like I said, 5 to 7 years. That's what I tell people when they're like, wow, how can you worked at one company your entire professional career? Which I get. It's pretty wild in general these days, especially like in the tech world. But being there as long as I have, I've seen 4 or 5 different versions of Daxko. And now that I've, through acquisition the past few years, get to meet so many other different people from different backgrounds. I've worked at a lot of other super cool companies. You do kind of feel like in some ways you have worked at other companies because you get so much exposure to different people. But I would say that, the past 5 years have been the biggest change at Daxko that I can remember, if I had to pick.
And for those of you who don't know about Daxko, it's spelled Daxko.
Yeah, man.
That's a common misspelling there.
Exactly. We still get it misspelled all the time. My children even still occasionally call it Daxko, which is funny. So we just roll with that. But what's funny about the name of the company, it shows you just how much changes in 20 years. Right. The company is 23, 24 years old, and the founder liked X's and K's, number one, and he liked all caps, number two. His rationale, Tom Patterson, was that in a newspaper, I don't know if you kids out there remember those. Google what a newspaper is. But
you're a second consecutive guest to mention newspapers. That must be a theme. Okay.
So that used to be a thing. But in newspapers, in print, right, you would have certain names of companies that popped in the newspaper, and they would be all caps, and they would have X's and K's, those more just obscure looking letters. And his classic example was Kodak. If you're just reading an article and it referenced the company Kodak, the name Kodak would almost pop on the page. It would be in the foreground, and everything else would be in the background. And so when a lot of people ask, like, that's such a weird misspelling. What does it stand for? Where did that come from? That's the logic and the rationale, and it kind of just spelled something, and that's kind of what he went with. So it's pretty wild.
It looks good, regardless of how many times it's misspelled.
That's
Talking
right.
of misspelled words, our word of the week is misspelled quite a lot, I'm assuming. What's our word of the week, Matt?
It's Yahtzee! Oh man, I'm so
Yahtzee?
excited. Yahtzee, what a great word. It is misspelled often. Did you know it originally came from, it was a dice game played on yachts?
I had no idea.
I learned that this week, researching this episode.
That's awesome. I actually started to Google and research, but I was like, no, I'm coming in totally ignorant. Let you guys educate me.
They switched the name though. They dropped the C out of yacht, that's a pretty tricky word to spell. But pretty excited about Yahtzee. I like saying the word Yahtzee. It's just a really fun. I think it's maybe the most fun word to say in the English language.
Oh, wow.
So I've got some contenders
That's
for
a
that
hot
later.
take
We'll
right
get to
there.
that. But first, my question is around Yahtzee strategy. So let's say you're playing a game of Yahtzee. You guys both know how to play Yahtzee?
Yes, sir.
Generally speaking, I think, yes.
Wait, let me just rewind. I played the Toy Story version with, like, dice with stickers on it. It's like the kid version. So I know that version.
Seems similar.
I played the yard version, but the dice are all like 4 inches by 4 inches. Like if you got hit upside the head by one of the dice, you would have a short trip to the ER. That's the version I played.
All right, so at least you know there's an upper section and a lower section to the scorecard, right? It's a standard game of Yahtzee. So the upper section is like where you get the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. If you get 63 points in the upper section, then you get a bonus, right? And then the lower section has kind of the more combinatorial things like, 4 of a kind, 3 of a kind, full house, and whatnot. So if on your first turn of the game, you get 4 5s, so you don't have a Yahtzee, which box are you putting that score down in?
I think my wife would know this. She's the game player in the house. She plays all the games. My kids too, so they've kind of brought me along. I'm just not an expert.
My guess is
I have skulls back here, Butch, though. I think I have skulls right over my shoulder right here. Yeah.
Tell
that's
us
a
about
good one.
skulls. I don't know how
I
to
feel
play
like I'm giving
skulls.
the podcast. I'm not trying to take us away from Yahtzee, but
No.
I mean,
You know,
Yahtzee to boats to games. There we go. We made it in 3 hops.
So, Skull is a game that kind of has this Mexican artwork on top of these skull cards, and it's kind of a can you read my body language game. You're trying to trick other people. So you want to play people who you can just read. You can read them really well. Like if they're not a good poker player, they're not going to be a good skull player. I can tell you that right now. And there's nothing more entertaining than playing it with Butch and watching somebody else get read like a book playing skull, and then watch him just have his infectious laugh and get kick-started. It's a good game. It's hard to explain. You kind of have to play it a couple rounds to fully get it. So it's actually not so easily found. I've looked in a lot of different stores like Target and Walmart and those kind of things you might visit from time to time. I've never seen it on the shelf, so I've only seen it purchasing online, but my good buddy Butch introduced me to it.
Yep. The way I would summarize it, the Butch rules are you have you have to win 2 rounds. If you win 2 rounds, you win. And you really just have to outbluff your opponent. But there's also some strategy in, when you decide to bluff versus when you decide to kind of to pretend like you have some. Well, I guess that's bluffing. I mean, it's all about bluffing, and then sometimes it's just guessing. Yeah, and trying to read other people's bluff. And I agree. Ton of fun. It's the most fun played around this time. Around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Everybody gets a little giggly, or I get a little giggly, and just have a great time. And it's wonderful.
That's why the podcast is at this time of night, isn't it?
That and children and work.
No, it's a good game. Do not play it with hyper-competitive but younger children who are going to get upset for losing, but also be incredibly easy to read and have no idea how to bluff yet. Like, you'll actually be doing your best not to win, and you'll still just boat race them, and it doesn't end in joy and everything. So play it with adults. Just for people who are emotionally mature, that's what I would recommend, and they're harder to read.
I will say my 13-year-old has gotten pretty good at it. He's beaten me a couple times, and I guess he can read me better than I can read him. Yeah. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah, that 10-year, maybe 9 to 10-year-old range is about it.
So what's the best age to get started with Yahtzee, Matt?
Probably 3 or 4. It's I mean, you want to get started early, right? Because the fun of rolling a Yahtzee, so where all 5 dice have the same number, is unparalleled in sport, I'm going to say. I think it's better than hitting a game-winning buzzer beater in a basketball game.
That's right.
I will say, that was a heck of a hot take just then from Matt, to say that it's on par with a buzzer beater in basketball. I mean, I'm sure it's really fun, but Matt might want to pump the brakes a little bit there. Just a little
bit. Buzzer beater from downtown, yeah, that beats it. Maybe a buzzer layup. It beats a buzzer layup, right?
If we're just at the Y, like hooping with some even people we know or people we don't, and I hit a buzzer beater, I'm going to go crazy. Very crazier than I would if I were playing Yahtzee.
If you rolled some dice.
Yeah. If I rolled some dice, I would be fist pump Tiger Woods. But if I was in a gym and I hit a buzzer beater, I'm probably making a fool of myself for the next 8 or 9 seconds.
Nice. That being said, are people still playing basketball at the Y?
They are, but they're not playing it from Daxko anymore because, as you know, you were there when COVID hit. It forced us all to embrace the remote world, and as a result, our footprint, even physically, at the Daxko office space is I would say it's more than half.
Shrunk down.
What it used to be, yeah. And it's true of all of our other major offices in Chicago and in Denver. They've all shrunk. And so, yeah, no one's really goes into the office. And frankly, it's a little more efficient this way. And it's been good. But as a result, one of the byproducts of that is we don't have some dudes playing basketball. So I miss it.
Tuesday hoops. Tuesday lunch hoops.
I know. It was good. It was fun. It was exciting.
Awesome. So, as a part of the podcast, one of the things we do is we share our FunHawg moment of the week. So, do you have a FunHawg moment of the week you would like to share with us? So,
since I will bleed into the last couple of weeks, I'll pull from one 2 weekends ago, if that's okay. We'll make it be an 8-day week,
great.
Whatever. I've been keeping an eye out on the weather, and me and the boys were going to go camping out in the backyard. They're really excited about it. I already asked about it a couple of times during the spring and a couple of Friday nights or so, and it really made a whole lot of sense schedule-wise, and the weather was good. Something would come up, and we just couldn't do it schedule-wise. And so then we finally had an opportunity 2 Friday nights ago. Really stoked about it. It's really fun, and the weather looked pretty good. But the weather changed on Friday, and I just didn't check it. And I'm setting up the tent, and I've got it all fully set up, and I was like, I didn't check it one last time. I should have done that. I'm sure it's fine. And I checked the weather, and it says it's going to rain overnight. It might start around 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, that's fine. These tents are relatively waterproof, water resistant. It's no big deal. They're
made for this.
Right.
Yeah.
And so instead of starting to rain it between 1 and 2, it started to rain at 11:30, and it rained pretty hard for the next 4 hours. And I was like, I think the tent's doing well. I think it's resisting like it's supposed to. Then about 2 o'clock, I'm like, that feels wet, and that feels wet. And I kept trying to tough it out. Both the kids were still asleep. It was fine. Then about 3:15, my 11-year-old got up, and he had to go use the restroom, and he was like, it's soaking wet in here. I was like, yep, sure is. Your dad's been awake for a while. So finally at about 3:45, we all packed it up and came in. So the water-resistant tent was water-resistant, but I don't think it was meant for a downpour for 4 or 5 hours. So, and what was fun is that it kind of wasn't seen as a bummer. It was like just a fun experience. It was kind of a cool story to tell, and it was good to go. And I felt fine on that Saturday. I was like, hey, I've had like barely any sleep. I got all this energy. That's fun. That Sunday afternoon hit, post-Sunday lunch, and my body was like, you need to lay down. And I mean, like, right now. But we had a great time. So we got rained on. That was my FunHawg moment a couple of Friday nights ago, getting rained on in the backyard. Luckily, we weren't like in the middle of the woods in the middle of nowhere. We could just, traverse the 25 yards from the backyard to the back door. So it was fun.
That's amazing. Memories were made. That's what it's about.
It really was, yeah.
Well, Matt, do you have a FunHawg moment
Real quick,
you'd like to share?
You got to tell the story about the time we went camping and didn't make it through the night.
All right, we'll take a side. What do we call this? A rabbit trail. We'll follow the rabbit trail to where this goes. So this was 4 years ago, 5? No, this was like when you were working at Dick's back in those days. So this was 5 years maybe ago, and we decided we should go camping together and hang out. So we found this campsite that was semi in the middle between Birmingham and Memphis. It was in the middle, and we met there. We got there around 5 o'clock. Maybe it was like 3 o'clock because we actually played around a disc golf. I won, by the way, everybody. Still got the scorecard.
Easily.
So much fun.
We had steak.
Yeah, the scorecard.
Yep. We got I had Mr. P's steaks. So I picked up Mr. P's on my way out of town. We fired up the grill. It was charcoal, so we had to wait on it for a while, but we cooked some steaks. That was probably the best steak I've had maybe ever. Maybe it's because I had been doing a lot of work, setting up tents and whatnot. We had this nice place right on a lake that they had, and grilled some steaks. We ate our steaks, and then the clouds started rolling in, and we had a decision to make. Are we going to tough this thing out, or are we gonna hit the road? We were checking the weather and doing all this other stuff, and how long do we sit in the van? What, like 40 minutes?
Yeah, it was
down like it was a monsoon. We sat in Matt's truck. He had a nice truck at the time. We listened to a little podcast. We chatted it up, and we made the decision. We're not gonna be out here in the rain. We're gonna go find a hotel. So we pack it up, hit the road. We probably drove about 45 minutes, an hour. I don't remember what town we got to, but we stayed at a hotel, had a lot of fun. We chatted up till like 2 a.m, and it was a fantastic camping / hotel day.
I think it was Tupelo was the city we ended up in, if I remember.
Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yeah, good times.
What was
Good
the
times.
podcast about that you both were engaged in at 12:30 in the morning?
Well, this was like in the car before we decided we were going to leave. I think Matt was sharing off some some podcasts you were listening to. I don't even remember what it was. It was like talk radio or something, kind of like what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Not very memorable.
Hey.
I feel like it was probably like Farnham Street. That's my go-to intellectual podcast. I don't know, Software Engineering Daily, maybe. Who knows? It was a long time. It was like, that was like 3 or 4 companies ago for me, Patrick. So that was, just probably one sabbatical
was
ago.
that 9 months ago? Is that when that was?
Oh, man. All right, so my FunHawg moment. I gotta set it up. So last summer, we moved to a new house. We got a pool at this house, and my older 2 boys were already swimming quite proficiently, but my youngest Tucker was not. And it's actually really more of a safety thing than anything. You want them to be safe in their own backyard, right? And so you really want them to be equipped to swim in the deep end. And he was pretty proficient in the shallow it was just the fear of the deep end. And it ended up, I had jumped in the pool and just really had said, like, you got to jump in, man. Like, but just had to keep kind of adding on the pressure. And, we maybe got into some threats. Maybe not my finest parenting, but ultimately he jumped in the pool. So it was this moment of triumph, and there were some tears shed. But as a result of that, I gave him an index card that said he could make me jump in the pool at any time, and it was kind of framed after the Monopoly game, where it was like kind of, this card may be kept until he couldn't sell it.
Get out of jail free card.
Right, yeah, the get out of jail free card. And so he ended up cashing that in. When was it? It was a really cold day. Oh, he gave it to me for my birthday this year. So my birthday's on February 12th. So the pool was very cold, and he nailed it. Like, he was like, "Dad, I got you a birthday present," and he's a kid, so you kind of expecting him to, like, whatever, he drew a picture or something like that, and so he hands it to me, and it was the card, and I was like, "Oh no!" And so I had to jump in the pool within 15 seconds. Was the deal. So I had to strip down pretty quick to pull that off. But how that ties into my FunHawg moment this week, he then gave me an index card. He played some game around the house, and I won it. And so he gave me a card that I got the opportunity to swim with him. And so I cashed it in this weekend, and we just had a big old time. A lot of times the boys just swim, and I don't really get in the pool. I'll throw the ball to them or whatnot. But this time I got in the pool, and we swam, and just hung out and had a good old time. So sometimes it's the simple memories that last the longest.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My oldest is at summer camp this week, and we have a pool too. So yesterday, me and my youngest, it was just me and him and Amy. So me and him were in the pool. So when I wanted to flip him, toss him, push him, catch him, whatever, he didn't have to compete with time or space with anyone else. He missed his brother, but to your point, just having that one-on-one time, he really soaked that up, and I did too. Man, those were good times.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, I'll share my FunHawg moment. This past weekend, I did something that's pretty nerdy. It's on the nerd scale of things. Maybe nerd or geek. I'm into that stuff. But my kids, they're into Magic the Gathering. This is a card game, kind of like Pokemon, for all those listeners that might have young kids. It's like that, but for adults, because there's like paragraphs of text on every card, and it's really confusing and complex. But there was a Magic the Gathering tournament where you go, you buy some packs, you build a deck, and then you face other people. And my oldest son really wanted to go. So we put on the schedule, took him out there. We got there. There was like 10 people total. And the other 7 people had been playing Magic their whole lives, like for 20 years. We'll go back to 20 years. One guy was like, 20 years ago, I was playing Magic the Gathering when he was like 16. I'm like, all right, well, I'm losing. We all lost. One of my sons won one game, and it was against me, when he played against me. So, there was one W in the family, but it was a great time. We had a lot of fun. I think the boys really enjoyed it and met a lot of really nice people. There's a lot of nice people that hang out at card shops they'll talk your ear off. So it was a great time.
That's awesome.
So, back to Yahtzee. Matt mentioned earlier that he likes to say Yahtzee, and I'll tell my Yahtzee story. Hanging around Matt, saying Yahtzee a lot, made me say Yahtzee a lot when fun things happen. The time I can think most, I guess the most big moment or memorable moment that I've used Yahtzee is when playing, there's this video game called Heroes of the Storm. This is kind of like, Patrick, you hitting the bucket from a three-point shot. There's this guy that throws these giant balls across the map. And when you hit somebody, it makes this noise. You land somebody, if you explode them, if you, get the rest of their life, they'll explode. And it's just a great feeling. And it's a Yahtzee moment. You explode them, Yahtzee. It's so good. I can think of that. And then the time that me and you, Matt, we came back. This was in Daxko, so, this is in the world of Patrick. We came back early from a Impact Day because our site was wrapped up. We were done. And we played indoor disc golf.
Yes.
And, when you hit the target, it's Yahtzee. It was a lot of fun.
It was with those really soft discs, so we didn't ding up the walls or anything. If anybody.
Yep. No walls were dinged. Nothing was harmed.
Yeah.
A lot of dust was captured on these discs. It was a great time.
It's funny how you said that you started saying Yahtzee after Matt, because I can think of, even when you texted me earlier this week, you texted me Bang Biscuit. And that was something I used to say that you started saying.
100%.
Which was so cool. I got that from the Dan Patrick show. I don't know, 15 years ago. And they got to where they would say Bang Biscuit. And my wife got to where she was saying Bang Biscuit. It was this awesome phrase. And I was thinking the other day, I said, and almost to myself, either out loud or in my head, something happened, and I said, "He gone," in my head or out loud, and I was like, that's what Butch used to say, "He gone," which comes from the great Hawk Harrelson on the Chicago White Sox when someone, would strike out. And so we've all had an influence one way or another on some sort of catchphrase or something like that. So that's awesome.
Shout out to Mike Elkins for introducing me to Hawk, the Hawk.
Harrelson. Yeah, Mike Elkins. So my wife has my favorite laugh in the world, probably the most infectious laugh. But Mike is number 2. He's like the top male laugh I've ever been around. Mike Elkins' laugh is the greatest laugh. It's hard not to have just a good time with him. A few of the guys got together for lunch last week, and I couldn't go, and he was one of those. I missed him, but Mike introduced us to Hawk Harrelson's, play-by-play when people struck out, saying, "He gone."
Or hit home runs, or anything that happened with the
all
White
the
Sox.
calls. Put it on the board, yes. Or another strikeout call was he'll grab some bench. That was a good one. That was a good one. But yeah. When you texted me Bang Biscuit, I think I may have used it 4 or 5 times since then this week. It just you resurrected this cliche of mine. It's been a fun 4 days.
Now I'm not familiar with Bang Biscuit. What's the? Is it just when is the appropriate occasion to say Bang Biscuit?
It's kind of like Yahtzee's up here, Bang Biscuit's down here. Something good happened, but it's not like buzzer beater.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
solid corner 3. We were down 7, and we really needed it to stay in the game. Bang Biscuit. Is it?
Boom.
Is it?
Yep. The other team has to call a timeout, win a little 7-0 run. Got to bring in the starters back or something like that. Yeah.
What is the intonation of it? So what?
Yeah, I don't know, Dan Patrick, what the etymology was, where it started. That's what I was listening to back, I don't know, in 2008 to 2012 range, and they would say Bang Biscuit when they just made a good, you zing somebody, you had a good comeback, or a funny line or I don't know, a good joke, or I don't know, when you just kind of have a good witty moment, whatever it may be, just kind of those more subdued moments. But you were like, boom, nailed you, and it's kind of like, bang or boom or something like that. So that's where it came from, was bang biscuit. We even say at the house, instead of saying dang it or something like that, we got to where we'd say biscuits. I don't even know when that started around the house. So I like biscuits. There's not actually a negative connotation with biscuits. Huge fan of biscuits. But yeah, so I don't know where it came from, but that's how you use it right there.
I do feel like it's when you're testing something,
Yeah,
you find a bug,
yes,
and bang biscuit, I'm
I was
feeling
about
good.
to say that.
So
awesome.
good.
Yeah, when you just figured out something, like when Matt finally got his internet to work a few minutes ago, he was like, bang biscuit, I'm back on. There you go.
I don't know what's one below bang biscuit. That's where I'm at right now. Like still not fully convinced I fixed it.
It's just biscuits.
The biscuits. Yeah, I'm still in the biscuits phase. I was researching what's the most fun word to say in the English language. I submit Yahtzee in there, but I want you guys to have a little discussion, a little debate here about that. So I've got 5 candidates. You're welcome to include your own. So maybe bang biscuit makes the mix, but we got Eureka. These are just fun to say words. Eureka. We got bingo. Voila. I think voila is pretty fun. And kapow and Yahtzee were my 5 contenders. So feel free to we'll accept write-in votes for this. So for your FunHawg.
Kapow has only been uttered by comic book characters. I don't know, or maybe Batman's 1960s TV show. I don't think actual people say that.
Kapow! We can start. Patrick, what are your thoughts?
Well, when you said voila, I thought about the classic dad way I always say it in my head is Viola, and that's how I always said it in my head. So it didn't come out. I'll do that. I'll say something out loud the way I typically say it in my head, and you got to be careful because then you just sound like a complete idiot to other people who don't know that you actually know the real way to say the word. Now you're saying it this other way, and I would say Viola. People are like, "What?" Voila, So I always butcher that one. So it is a good word, but I screw it up. Yahtzee. I think bingo is a classic. I mean, it's got to be a true top 5, top 3.
Yeah, bingo might be the word under bang biscuit. Bingo, bang biscuit.
There you go.
Yahtzee.
It feels transcendent of even languages. I would think people who even speak other languages would know bingo.
I'm going to go with a much simpler word, but I believe words are more fun when the pitch changes. Right? If it's just bingo or bingo, you gotta go up or down or something. So when I think about words that are fun to say, the most simple and fun is yeah. Isn't that fun? Yeah. I have fun saying yeah. So
Yeah?
that's my submission.
I used to say like I'm bumfuzzled,
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's a fun word to say, but it's random. It's one of those words that comes to mind, and when it actually comes out of your mouth and it comes out loud, you're like, where did that come from? Because everybody kind of gives you a look here for about 2 or 3 seconds before you finish it.
Always looking for that one on the Scrabble board. If you can ever get that, you got a solid game going if you can get bumfuzzled in there.
Here's a good one, gobbledygook. This is a good one.
Gobbledygook. That's fun to say.
That's
That's like 3 words.
Brouhaha. That's a good way to describe a fight. It was a brouhaha at the Cubs-Reds game or something like that, and that makes it sound like it kind of got a little heated.
Nice. I like that one.
When I think of Yahtzee, by the way, Matt might actually remember this. I think about Kenny Mayne on ESPN Sports Center. I used to be one of his little, I guess, catchphrases he would say, along with all of his other really. It's funny how he would yell Yahtzee, but all of his other phrases were pretty subdued for the most part. I think he had one other loud one, but everything else was pretty low key. But he had Yahtzee. That was a good one. Home runs.
Yeah.
That sort of.
Go to over the top. Did they? The SportsCenter anchors were just legends back in the 90s and 2000s. Is that still the case today, or is it kind of? They just kind of roll through? I don't even know. I haven't watched SportsCenter in several years at this point.
Yeah. The only sports centers I've watched in recent years have been maybe after some epic game, and it cuts straight live to SportsCenter and Van Pelt's interviewing somebody. But I don't.
Yeah.
That's more just like an interview. That's not even like a highlight. A series of highlights. Twitter and social media ruined SportsCenter from that regard.
Yeah, it used to be just the only way you could get sports news, and so you just would watch the 8 o'clock SportsCenter, and then, I remember my mom would make me do some chore or something, and so I would miss the segment that they had built up for. So then I had to start watching it again at 9 o'clock and just make sure I could
to wait.
I like Web Gems or whatever. The SportsCenter Top 10 was what I just lived for, but. Yeah, it's all been replaced by instant gratification. Really a spoiled generation we're raising. They don't have to wait for their highlight reels.
When people used to ask me how I knew all these random facts and stats about players, it was baseball cards, and it was obviously I didn't have any real responsibilities back then, so I spent my time focusing on those things. But more than anything else, it was just watching SportsCenter 6 times a day. A couple of times at night and 4 times the next morning. It just beats it into your brain, all that sort of thing, and you're just compiling it, and then next thing you know, you're a little encyclopedia in your early 20s. Hammered it home.
Own little mini Swami.
There you go. That's a
Swami. That's a good word.
Yeah.
Here's a fun word to say. I've been scrolling through a list of 100 to see if I come across any I think are fun. Razzle dazzle. That's a good one. Try to say razzle dazzle, not grin from ear to ear. See, both of you. Look at you. You got coat hangers in your mouths, so you can't say razzle dazzle without smiling really big.
I feel like razzle dazzle makes
Razzle-dazzle.
me. I mean, we've been talking about sports, but it feels like particularly like you get like a glove flip from the shortstop to the second baseman. He pulled out the old razzle dazzle there.
Yeah, the unnecessary behind the back pass basketball, where you're just adding a little sauce to it for fun.
Yeah, razzle dazzle.
Patrick Mahomes, the no look pass, which I think now he does half the time just because he knows it'll get caught on camera and be a talking point the next week. He doesn't have to do it that often.
All right. It's the weekly what? What video entertainment have you been enjoying this week, if any?
Well, I haven't watched this week's episode, but both you guys know I'm a big Star Wars nerd, so any new Star Wars, anything that comes out, I'm one of those guys I'm going to watch it. If either I'll hate watch it or love watch it, one way or the other. So
no matter what,
Acolyte.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Got into Acolyte last week, and I enjoyed it. It was pretty fun. New stage of Star Wars, and new world building, and new aliens, new characters, backstories, a lot of comparison to other religions and other movie genres like Japanese samurai movies. A lot of martial arts in the show. It was, the action was actually some of the best action they've had in Star Wars TV shows in a while. It was really well done. So that was pretty fun. We enjoyed that. All the Star Wars shows we watch as a family. So since my oldest son is at camp this week, we have not watched this week. So we will wait until he returns so we can watch it together. But it's been good.
I'm impressed that you are consuming all of the Star. I mean, they're starting to produce a pretty good amount. It felt like Mandalorian was very on brand, we'll say. I mean, it was a different flavor, but it felt, in general, the Star Wars fans seemed to like it. But it seems like they're really pushing the envelope for how far they can, I don't know, just run Star Wars through. Like there's the Obi-Wan and I can't even name them all now, so I definitely haven't kept up. But I'm impressed that you consume all the Star Wars content.
Yeah, Obi-Wan and Boba Fett were fun shows that largely, if they never happened, would have been fine. They didn't move a whole lot of stories along. They were just a fun ride, right? But some of the other ones have been good. My favorite character in Star Wars is probably Ahsoka Tano. So to see her have her own show was fun, and I enjoyed getting into that. So we're all in. But I don't watch any Marvel stuff, so it's NBA and Star Wars, and then that's about it. I'm out.
Video content. All right, so this month I tend to do a challenge in June with my wife. So generally it has like a health bent to it. So we have like, it could be anything really. But in particular this year, what we're doing is severely limiting our TV consumption. And so I actually carved out the NBA Finals. So I'm still allowed to watch the NBA Finals because I really didn't want to give that up. I love the NBA. But I neglected to consider that Clemson would advance in the NCAA regional. An incredible run for Clemson. But so I was literally like sitting in the kitchen over here. My boys were watching the Clemson game, going crazy. We had it ended up being the last game of the year for Clemson. Florida beat us, but I had committed to not watching it. That was a really poor decision in hindsight. The quick story, though, our center fielder, Cam Camarella, made an incredible play. He made two, but we were down 6-9 in the. We were the home team, but because of the way the regionals work, we were treated like the away team. So he hits a home run in the top of the ninth to tie it up, to keep the season alive, and then there's 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, and the Florida guy hits a ball over his head. He's a center fielder. He turns around, catches it over. I mean, it was like the Willie Mays catch. But, I mean, to truly save the season, incredible highlight play. So definitely worth a watch if you didn't catch sports this week.
If you guys ever have the top 10 dumbest sports rules episode, I'm all in. Because that regional setup is one of the top 10 dumbest sports rules. Where you host a regional because you're the better team, have a substantially better record. You get to host it at your own college, at your own university campus, and then for 3 out of the 3 games, one of them you have to be the road team and go to the other dugout, even though it's your home stadium. It's the most arbitrary, stupidest rule ever. And I could go off on that one and probably another 9 if we could come up with them. But that's one of those, really like, who came up with this sort of rules? So bizarre. So I'm glad Clemson won.
I think we should try it. No, we lost. We ended up losing in the 10th. Yeah, it is a dumb rule. We should try to enumerate this right now. I think fouling out in basketball. Hey, here's a great idea. Why don't we have the players who've played the entire game? Why don't we have them sit out the last 2 minutes and have other people who we don't want to watch play basketball finish off the game? Because they did things that are by and large part of the game, right? These aren't ejection fouls. I'm just talking about, hey, I was guarding the other guy and he's a little too athletic, and so I tapped him on the arm. Give him his free throws. Let's keep playing basketball. Fouling out, terrible.
Especially today with athletes being what they are, as quick as they are, as strong as they are, as fast as they are. Like, it's just about impossible to stay in front of anybody. So if you really want somebody to D up, right, and really pressure up on somebody, and to maybe even try to contend them at the rim, because too many of you guys try to take a charge as opposed to actually defend somebody at the rim, you're going to foul them. It's just, you're going to make contact. So, yeah, it's part of the game. Find a way to punish it, maybe in some sort of incremental scale the punishments, but don't take them off the court. Let's set especially in the NBA like that, where it's a entertainment product. You just took off the court potentially one of the top 2 or 3 best players that everybody paid all the money to come see, right? And I would even argue college is the same way, because they're not as good, so they're not as disciplined, and they only have 4 years to play, most likely, so you're robbing them of this opportunity. Yes, make it so. Approved. I approve this bill. That's what we need to do. I have another one. If you don't sign your card in golf, if you don't sign your card, your scorecard, right? Like the whole thing is null and void. You're penalized. It's like the cardinal sin. And I'm like, it's 2024. Like, what? Why do we have pieces of paper? What are we doing? It's just like, what in the world is happening? Blows my mind that that's even a rule, much less an unwritten rule.
I think it's like a great American tradition. It's just like signing for receipts. You know, like what? Why do we all scribble Mickey Mouse on this piece of paper? You know,
Exactly. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That's a good one. Butch, do you have any silly rules? Maybe like an ultimate rule that you're not a fan of or something?
Yeah.
I think I like all the ultimate rules. There's none that are like really silly. They're all pretty legit. So I've got nothing for you. Maybe balking. I can't understand when a balk happens in baseball. So that would be mine. Yeah, I see the ump saying, "Hey, he balked. Let the guy go to first base or whatever," and I'm like, "What just happened? I have no idea."
That's a good one. I heard Harold Reynolds one year, who was a really fast Major League Baseball player. Like, stealing bases was part of his game, and
his
he even
repertoire. That's a fun word. Repertoire.
Nice. I didn't even notice that. But yeah, it was part of his game, and he went on about, you know, how so much of what pitchers do even still are actually trying to deceive the runner, right? So he was like, his pitch, if I remember right, was to get rid of balks. Like, if you can deceive them, great. Let it be the cat and mouse game, and don't have these weird, you know, have you come set and have you paused and all this stuff that's kind of a judgment call sort of thing. Just remove the rules. Let's just go for it, and let's see if we can do it. I think that would be super entertaining to try to pull that off, especially for a game that's grasping to increase the entertainment value. You know, I haven't thought through all the implications of that one, but when you brought that one up, that I've heard that before.
I like it's just like what about soccer, a game that struggles with low scoring, and I mean it is very entertaining at the highest level, particularly if you kind of know what's going on. Just get rid of offsides. Right? Like, you literally have a rule that prevents the game from being interesting. I mean, just embrace it. Let people go off sides. There'd be way more scoring. It'd be super fun.
Yeah, I thought.
And icing in hockey.
Same thing.
Icing in hockey, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Open it up.
For those of you who have not experienced the glorious movie, which is called Kung Pao, Enter the Fist, go experience it. It is a gem from the early 2000 era. I'm just going to leave it there. I'll add one other thing. Find some people that like to laugh and watch it with them. Don't watch it by yourself. It's a comedy.
When am I coming over, Butch?
Let's do it. I don't know. We got to figure this out. We'll have a showing at the park or showing in the backyard. We'll get the screen up and show off Kung Pao. But it's a great movie. Lots of laughs. Me and the boys watched that 2 weeks ago, and it was great.
I'm just Googling the Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb scores. And they are actually...
What are we at?
All right, Rotten Tomatoes. Matt, you want to set the over-under on what percentage of people liked it?
I'm going to say 22%.
All right, Butch, you going to take the over or the under on Rotten Tomatoes?
Under.
It's 13%.
It's so good, though. It's so good.
But that's how those silly movies
problem
are.
is-
They're typically rated pretty low. You know.
Yeah.
It's out
Those
of the whole-
87% watched it alone. They didn't watch it with friends that like to laugh.
Amen.
Bunch of losers, the top 87% they are.
You gotta watch funny movies with people. In fact, I've made this point before. I've watched a number of funny movies over the years with friends, including you guys, or funny YouTube clips or whatever. Man on a Buffalo, I think, made an appearance a few podcasts ago. If I saw right, that's fun. But the only movie I can recall, like literally sitting through and just laughing on my own, all by myself, the first time I watched it, was Tommy Boy, which is why it, like, still to this day, like, ranks so high. I remember just even being amazed at how often I was laughing out loud alone watching that movie. I remember where I was. It's just one of those seminal moments in my life where I remember where I was, what I was doing, everything when I watched Tommy Boy for the first time.
That is a good mark of a comedy if it's funny and you don't watch it with other people. I mean, that's a high standard. For me, Mrs. Doubtfire meets that threshold. I think Robin Williams is just hilarious, and man, when he hits Pierce Brosnan in the head, he says, "Oh, it was a drive-by fruiting." Oh man, kills me every time.
It's good. It's healthy.
What's your comedy? If you're got to be by yourself, but you need to watch something funny, what are you watching?
Tommy Boy's my movie too. I mean, Kung Pao or Tommy Boy, those kind of both fit the bill. Or I'll bust out the Saturday Night Live Chris Farley special and just pop that in and loop through all the different specials he did. That's another favorite on the top 5 watch comedy by myself shelf.
Yeah. Just Farley in general. Just Farley.
Yeah.
What do you?
So good.
So Matt's not watching anything right now except NBA Finals. That's his video.
For the entire
right now,
month,
just
yeah.
NBA Finals.
Yeah, and it's not a very good finals. That's kind of been disappointing.
Yeah.
So maybe the
Now that
Mavs
I
can
know this,
still
I'm going to
get
be
through.
pulling for an even longer series, so you can soak it up.
Exactly.
That's okay though. That's okay. I've always said that summer should just jump from June to like September. There's just really nothing that happens from July to August. I would have probably picked July or August to be my no TV month, but chose poorly, to quote.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a fun thing we do. I mean, I don't know. It's good to reset and get out of the habit of just, I don't know, tuning into a show every night. But
Yeah, sure.
I do love my NBA Finals.
So are you pulling for anybody, Matt? Or do you find yourself kind of behind one team or another?
Well, the Grizzlies got eliminated around about December this year from the playoff scene. But so this is fun. I got season tickets to the Grizzlies. I split them with a group of folks. We have 11 games that we get to go to, and I think the Grizzlies won. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, but 8 or 9 home games this year. No, more than that. I think they end up with like 22 wins. Somehow I managed to go 0 for 11. And so the games I went to literally went winless. So I purchased season tickets to not see a single win this season. But it kind of forced me to switch my mindset to just observing great NBA players. And so I got to see Luka. He is just otherworldly. His talent level. He made some passes in this game against the Grizzlies that, he got knocked down. He was around half court, and he threw it like a chest pass to a guy in the corner. This is a 45-foot pass. He's sitting down, and it was just on a frozen rope, and guy hits the corner three. So I'd say in general, I'm cheering for the series to go to 7 games, which makes me a Mavs fan at this point. But I just would like to see high-quality basketball, and particularly, I just love it when the game gets in the last minute, and the game's still in doubt. That's just so much fun.
Yeah.
And people aren't fouled out.
Thank you, Butch. Yeah. I really don't like fouling out. I've hated that for years, and it really needs to be. No other sport has that. Hey, let's have the people who've been playing the whole game just not be eligible to play at the end of the game. Ridiculous.
The closest to that was probably college football's targeting penalty right now, which is either like a few yards or you have to leave the game entirely. There's no in between.
Yeah, sit out the first half of next week. NCAA, they're a mess.
Well, I do have some listener feedback.
Ooh.
This week, we received our first email. I'm going to read it off to everyone. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Love the podcast. Did you hear that? Love the podcast.
We got fans.
What about... Our listener says, what about having a listener's FunHawg moment of the week? Question mark. You could have listeners submit their moments, and y'all pick one to go over and highlight at some point. I hope it goes longer than 10, so we're hoping this goes longer than 10 too. And I've enjoyed them all. So thank you, Fowler, for writing into us. The first email sent to howdy at funhawg.com. Another fun word to say, howdy.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's a super fun word.
Where was my brain? So send us an email at howdy at funhawg.com, and we'll send you a stick. Well, Matt promised stickers. I actually just ordered some tattoos, so you're going to get a tattoo.
Love it. Get your tat. Patrick, do you know Fowler by chance?
I don't. Is this a nickname or like a?
Yeah.
It's different worlds. Like we're kind of like I'm connected to Fowler. Fowler actually works for me, so at Tilde.
Nice.
But yeah, the worlds haven't collided yet.
He's a Birmingham guy.
But they should.
I just thought you guys might. The software community in Birmingham is pretty tight knit, and so surely you have been in the same building at some point, but just have never crossed paths.
Possibly,
Great guy.
yeah. Really a networking kind of guy. I kind of get to know people that I work with, but you kind of have to drag me to other events like that. So,
I bet Patrick with sports trivia, Fowler for all the other trivia.
All the other
y'all would
trivia.
be an unstoppable force.
Man.
my sports trivia is rusty as can be these days, but
I mean, most sports trivia is like more than 10 years old, right? So it's all there. You just gotta dust it off a little bit.
Yeah. I'm really rusty on like trivia about Auburn's current football team. I've been so loosely checked out the past couple of years that I don't know. It's 20-year-old me could have never predicted that 43-year-old me would be so ignorant of modern current roster sports trivia of an Auburn football team, yet I would fail miserably. So rusty.
Let's spin that wheel. We're going to come up with next week's word. So are y'all ready for this?
Let's see it.
Oh, ho, ho, we got our wheel. All right, I think we can do it. Here we go.
Finger crossed for razzle dazzle. No.
Butter.
I thought it said panther.
It says butter.
Okay,
So we're going to talk
butter.
about butter next week, and I'll make sure Razzle Dazzle makes it on the wheel.
There you
So
go.
Yes.
You guys need to discuss
when it does,
You need to discuss the age-old debate about do you leave your butter out or do you keep it refrigerated? There's so many, strong opinions on both sides of it. And that's for next week.
everyone, send us an email. Do you keep it out or do you keep it in the fridge? Let us know.
A tease.
And we'll tally the votes, all 10 of them, or 2, or 0.
Whatever, man. Round up to 100, like Matt said, right? Just got to round up.
Yeah, round it up. Well, I will, when I erase butter off of this wheel, I will put Razzle Dazzle. And when Razzle Dazzle hits, Patrick, you're coming back on the
Yeah,
show.
this is great. We got to get you a lag-free episode. I got to figure out these.
Lag-free podcast.
Yeah, we got to figure that out. I say we give all of our guests a chance to give a shout out. The mic is yours. Like who gets a shout out from Patrick Dyle?
Well, first shout out always goes to my amazing wife, if she ever listens to this. She's incredibly busy and serving all the time. I doubt she has any time for this. But I'll give a shout out to another guy who for years said that me and him should start a podcast. Back when we didn't have quite as many kids, and we were talking about a lot of minutia about NBA. Matt can probably guess who this is. My good buddy Jake Ham. He's always wanted to do this sort of thing. So, and we've had many a discussion with Matt about stupid sports rules or usually with Jake, it's always an NBA trade that's completely and totally illegal and impossible that I have to pop his balloon about. But those are the fun things I like to talk about. So yeah, shout out to Jake.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, you guys would have such a good NBA podcast just debating minutiae of decisions. We got to get, before we wrap up here, what's your take on, I mean, the Lakers getting turned down by Dan Hurley? That's a lot of egg on their face. What's your
I
take?
guess so, but they always recover. You know, they've had egg on their face, I feel like 2 or 3 times in the past, 10 to 12 years, and you know, they've won 2 championships, right, out of the past, 15. So, you know, they're the Lakers. They'll recover. I don't blame him. I wonder how late in the game he actually came up. Was it just somebody in a room was like, let's call Dan Hurley? And someone's like, you think he'll listen? He's like, let's do it. We're the Lakers. Give him a call. And he's like, actually, I'll give you guys a listen. I don't know. Just so weird that it came out late in the game and it wasn't leaked or anything, but I don't blame him for listening, but I also don't blame him for staying. And that he's on top of the world. I don't know. They all say the NBA is an easier life than a college coach because there's recruiting and all the rules you have to care about, for compliance and school and kids getting their grades and all that sort of thing. And there's all just limits on how much you can practice and how much you can drill into them. I mean, Donovan Mitchell even said that. Like one of the reasons he felt like he made this huge leap in his rookie year with the Jazz was someone said, why do you think you've gotten better just since you've left college? He goes, because I'm not doing anything else. I'm only doing basketball, playing basketball, practicing basketball, watching basketball, listening about basketball, studying basketball. And he's like, I've been able to just consume myself with it. So that's one of the reasons why some people say that college guys never go back, like Billy Donovan. But it's pretty crazy.
It's not really, I guess.
I don't know.
It is kind of a love of the game, then, I guess, that, you know, that they're fully committed to it. Yeah.
Maybe he was honest with himself. Like his persona is kind of a yeller, screamer. He's pretty hardcore, and that doesn't really fly with men in their early 30s who are much larger than you and paid a lot more than you. So maybe he
Or
thought his
late
personality
30s.
was better fit.
Yeah.
Well, LeBron's case, yeah. When their own children are joining the league, you know, potentially in the draft. Yeah.
I think that's pretty wild. LeBron has been in the NBA as long as Patrick's been at Daxko. I mean,
Yes, it's true. We're basically the same person. You know,
basically. If the
our
Lakers
career
called
journeys are pretty similar.
similar net worths, you know, both less than $1 billion. Well, I don't actually know about that for him.
I did almost leave Daxko at one point, but I did not set up a live, decision-making moment with ESPN. It's a shame I didn't do that, but it wouldn't have been as dramatic because I would have stayed where I was and been loyal to the team that drafted me out of Auburn.
I like it.
The March 2004 draft. That was a good one. There, Daxko.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Thanks for spending some time with us. I'm Butch.
I'm Matt.
Go forth and hog some fun. And there's Patrick. Oh, okay. That was great.
Yeah.
Sorry, we've got the thing. We should include guests in this if they're still around in the future.
Give him the script, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do better at preparing next time rather
If
than
there was,
sending
like,
a link.
Outro music, I would have picked up that I needed to fade in
Yeah.
the background.
It gets merged in later.
Yeah.